Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to start on page 128, and we're going to warm up our voices with Hinei Matov. Hinei Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Okay, is there anyone who's observing a yort site besides David? You didn't want to light the candles, did you, David? Would you rather me have... Do you want to light the candles in observance of the yort sites, or do you want me to ask... Bela, would you like to light the candles? Okay, it's on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you, allergies.
I know. Thank you, Bela. We're on page 124. May we enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to live lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. Page 127. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. Please read the On Shabbat. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We're going to go to 138. We're going to do L'chol Dodi, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And for 9, we will stand up and greet the Shabbos bride. L'chol Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'divor echad, Hishmi anu el hamachad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shem ol tifirat l'tihila. L'chol Dodi l'krat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chol Dodi l'krat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'krat Shabbat l'chol neglicha, Ki hi mekor habracha, Marosh mekadem nesucha, Tzuma'achak b'mechet hatila. L'chol Dodi l'krat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chol Dodi l'krat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hi Torah, Ki v'orech uri shedebari, Kavod Adonai lo negilam. L'chol Dodi l'krat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chol Dodi l'krat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi b'shalom al teret ba'ala, Gam b'simcha u'tzachala, Tonamune amsugula, Boi kala. L'chol Dodi l'krat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chol Dodi l'krat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Okay, everyone sit down. We're on page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Chamlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei chamlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei chamlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei chamlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Please rise on page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabba, Bilma devra kutevim lich malchute, B'cha yechom uvyom echom ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. Bagala, Bagala, Uvizman Koriv, V'Imaru, Amen. Yeheshme Rabam Avorach, Leolam Omeol Maya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'Yishtabach, V'Yitabar, V'Yitmamam, V'Yitnaseh, V'Yithadar, V'Yitale, V'Yitalal, Shemedu Kusha Barichu, Leolam En Kol Barachata V'Shirata, Tushbechata V'Nechemata, Damiran Bialma, V'Imaru, Amen. Remain standing. We're on page 146. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach, Leolam Voed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach, Leolam Voed. Please be seated. We're on page 148. I'm going to read this one in Hebrew, and you're welcome to join me if you want to and if you remember this one. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna ma'aseh itim, umachalif et chazmanim, umsarder et hakokavim, b'mishbarmotechem barkira kirtzono, b'rei yom v'layla, golel or meknei hoshech, v'hoshech meknei or, umaldir yom uvein laila, umaldil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzavot shemo, el chai v'kayom tomid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. We're going to sing Ahavat Olam on page 150. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisroel, Amcha Ohavta, Amcha Ohavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu lemadata, Otanu lemadata. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'chuvenu u'mokumenu na'aseh b'chutecha, v'natzmech b'dvorei toratecha, u'mitzvotecha le'olam voed. Ki hem chayenu, ve'arech yomenu, uvahem nagei yomam v'layla, nagei yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavtecha, al tusir mimenu leomim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisroel, Ohev Amo Yisroel. And please rise for the Shema on page 152. Shema Yisroel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. We are on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinamtam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shiftecha b'veitecha, u'v'leftecha v'aderech, u'v'sheftecha uv'kumecha, u'tertam liot al yadecha, v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha, uv'tavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, V'tem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeitzi etzchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lahiot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. We are on page 157, and please read it with me, the bottom one. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. We're on page 158. Mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, noro tehilot o sefele, nora tehilot o sefele, malchutecha ra'uvonecha, Bokei Yom Lifnei Moshe Miriam Ze'eli Anu v'yamru Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed V'ne'amar ki fadat Adonai et Yaakov Ugalo mizak hazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Go'al Yisrael. We're on page 161 and 160. We're going to start with the English on 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu L'shalom v'hamidenu Shamreinu l'chayim ufrosoleinu Sukkot shlomecha Hashkivenu Adonai hashkivenu l'shalom. We're on page 162, and we're going to do Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat l'doratom berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat l'doratom berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat l'doratom berit olam. Ki sheshet yomim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat l'doratom berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat l'doratom berit olam. Okay, turn to page 164 and rise, please. Adonai safatatach Yufiya Getahilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. We're on page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Ovot, Umevi Gula, Livnei V'Nichem, Laman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer, Moshiach, Umogain, Baruch atah Adonai, Mogen Avraham v'Etzrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia. Mechalkei chayim b'chesed, Mechayei hakol b'rachamim rabim. Somich noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, umekayim emanato l'shenei ofar, michamocha bial gevurot, umidom melach, melech memit umekayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'nemonato l'chiyot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol. We're on page 170. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh ukashim b'chol yom yechalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. We're now on page 173. And please read with me at the top. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. We're on page 174. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcho Yisroel u'tefilatam be'ahava tikabel u'tehila ratzon Tomid avodat Yisroel, Yisroel amecha, El karov lechol, karov penei el avodecha v'hanenu, shafoch ruchacha, Aleinu, v'techazena enenu, b'shuv v'chol etzion, barachamim, baruch atah, Adonai HaMachazir Shechinato Litzion Litzion. We're in the middle of page 176. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of all our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. So now we're on page 178 and 179. And as you all know, this is my very favorite prayer. So I'd like to read the English first and then sing the Hebrew. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. We're on page 178. Shalom Rav al Yisroel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisroel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Levarech et Amcho Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Baruch atah Adonai hamvorech et amo Yisrael bashalom. We are on page 80, and the prayer in the middle was always a silent prayer in our old books. So I'd like you to take this time to either read this to yourself silently or just think about what's happened in this week, maybe something you're grateful for, maybe someone you'd like to keep in your prayers. Not too fast, I hope. Thank you. Okay, so we're in the middle of the page. Yehiyu liratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali Yehiyu liratzon Imrefi. So, moving right along, we are going to do the Mishabera on page 371. I know I've been mentioning my friend Ann Gertz-Stockus, and I went to see her last week. She's been moved to a long-term care, and it's really a lovely place. I've been to a lot of those places, and it's really quite lovely, but I feel so bad because I can tell she's not really happy there. When I went to see her, they had her in another room playing bingo, and I said, here's your, it didn't go well, you know. So I pray that she gets adjusted and used to the place and that she makes friends there and does well there. So she's, you know, one of the ones that's at the top of my list. So the other people on tonight's list are Tony Lee, Hannah Levin, Valerie Horner, Rona Paquette, Jackie Farrell, Miriam Schneer, Avraham Lobby, Louise Ziff, Richard McGinty, Morton Kaplan, Bonnie Levine, John Farrell, Lindsay Martin, Tamara Fishman, Martin Jean, Rabbi Jeff Avlasser, Igor Kurgansky, Kevin Killop, Clara Lobach, Maya Claus, Susan Tuck Sweetman, Emmett McDonald, Glenn and Melanie Dunn, Sharon Schneer, Rebecca Chappis, Avijava Davi Duck, Dina Fahy, Ari Bansara, Linda Stewart, Cheryl Nicole Wright, Colleen Halpern, Karen Devora Bott Masadi V. Norman, Lori Curtis, Asher Israel, Ray Zoy, Ilana Bott Dora, Terry McCastiker, Alyssa Wright Tammy, B. Mona, Gail Kaplan, Yosef Shimon, Rabbi Hazan Devora Fick, Solomon Smear, Libby Bailey, Lila Reese Pullman, Elizabeth Enright. Are there any other names that we should include? Harry Indig. Any other names? Okay, so the names that we've mentioned, the special prayers for safekeeping for all in Israel, Iris Caver Berliner and family, Michael Orley Uval, and Noam Kessler, and all the soldiers, hostages, and those who have been released, and all the other people we're holding in our hearts. We're on page 371. Mishaberach Avotenu Makor HaBracha Liimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu makor habracha liavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We are now on page 376. And the prayer for our congregation. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, shachota la'avad chabarira na'avod. David, would you like to do the prayer for Israel, please? It's on page 377. Don't trip on that.
Page 377. Avinu Shabbat Shamayim, Tzor Yisrael v'goalo, Berech Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzemichat Golotenu, Chagein Alecha Be'evrat Chazdecha, Ufros Alecha Sukkot Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha Ve'amiticha, Lareshecha, Sare'a V'yo Artsecha, V'taknem Be'etza Tova Melfanecha, V'natata Shalom Beretz, V'simchat olam leyosheva v'nomar amen.
Thank you. Okay, so we're up to the Torah portion, and we have a treat for you tonight. Peter is doing the Devar Torah for us. Take it away, Peter. I'm just going to get this out of the way so you don't trip on it, okay? Okay.
Shabbat Shalom. So here in the book of Numbers, we have the 41st Parsha, Parsha Pinchas, named after Phinehas, the grandson of Aaron. So it's here that we learn about some highly influential events. 5 major events here to talk about. Phinehas is rewarded for his bravery. A census of the Israelites is taken. The daughters of Zelophehad successfully argue for a portion in the land of Israel. Joshua is ordained Moses' successor. And lastly, God relays to Moses the details of all of the holiday sacrifices. So as we examine some of these interesting notions, I'd like to first of all just contextualize the Parsha by situating ourselves within the Torah. Then I'll highlight some important aspects associated with the Parsha. And then I'll emphasize some modern themes that emerge from careful analysis of the Parsha. But lastly and mainly, I'll drill into and unpack some important features of one of the most, I think, compelling narratives of the Parsha that relate to the daughters of Zelophehad and relate some of these key aspects to life today, offering you some key takeaways. So let's start by highlighting very quickly some of the salient aspects associated with the Parsha. So it's at this point then in the Torah, led by Moses, the Israelites had been wandering in the wilderness desert for about 39 years at this point, still maintaining their quest to enter the promised land. Last week's Parsha concluded with the Moabite and Midianite women seducing some Israelite men and enticing them to idol worship. It was then that Phinehas unilaterally executed an Israeli leader along with the Midianite princess with whom he was cohabiting. Now, this week's Parsha opens with God praising Phinehas, the grandson of Aaron, for zealously killing the Israelite man and Midianite woman, which had stopped a deadly plague caused by Israel's idolatry and immorality with the Moabites. God granted Phinehas and his descendants a covenant of peace and a lasting priesthood as a reward for his zeal. God then commanded the Israelites to punish the Midianites by hounding and smiting them. The fulfillment of this command will be described in next week's Parsha. However, at this point, God commanded Moses and Eleazar, the high priest, to conduct a census of all males over the age of 20. The Israelites were counted, and the totals are given for each of the 12 tribes. The grand total of all tribes contained in the census was 601,730. Per God's command, the land of Israel was to be divided amongst all those who were counted in the census. The location of each tribe's allotted land portion was to be determined by lottery or by lots, if you will. As an aside, to emphasize here, we see then that the apportioning of land to respective tribes is something that is extremely important. At any rate, after this, the daughters of Zelophehad approached Moses and stated their father had died, leaving behind only daughters. I'll have more to say about this momentarily, but for now, let me just continue with highlighting the Parsha. They requested to receive their father's portion of the land of Israel. In turn, Moses relayed their request to God. God agreed to the daughters' request. Moses was then instructed by God on the newly modified laws of inheritance. Included in these laws is a daughter's right to her father's estate if he doesn't have any sons. Following this, God told Moses he will soon die, but then allowed him to see the promised land, but only from a distance. Moses asked God to appoint a worthy individual to succeed him, which he does. God granted Moses to endow Joshua with some of his spiritual powers and publicly named him as Moses' official successor. Moses laid hands on Joshua in front of the community, signifying a peaceful transfer of leadership. And lastly, from this point to the end of this week's reading, the Torah details various communal sacrifices which are offered at the tabernacle and temple at designated times. So this last section really discusses the twice daily Tamid sacrifice, as well as additional sacrifices offered on Shabbat and Rosh Chodesh. More specifically, this section discusses sacrifices offered on Passover, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur. The Torah also discusses some of the laws related to these holidays, as well as Sukkot and others. So, that's an overview of this week's Parsha. So it's within this Parsha then that there are some, what I would suggest are very enduring lessons that directly relate to life today. These lessons reveal powerful insights regarding leadership, responsibility, integrity, justice, gender equality, and spiritual commitment. However, in the interest of time, let's drill into and more deeply consider one, what I think is fascinating narrative, in order to sort of apply a little bit more analytical detail to this. And this is the story about the daughters of Zelophehad, which of course we realize is a very much studied narrative, but I think it's wonderful, and so we'll spend some time talking about that. So I find this story particularly interesting and particularly relevant to me personally. I must say, as a father of 4 girls, this story warms my heart because I feel God's protection of them and his sense of justice just as alive today as it was over 3,000 years ago when this was written. So let's unpack some relevant and modern truths regarding Zelophehad's 5 daughters. Zelophehad's daughters are really quite notable, I think, for challenging the patriarchal norms of inheritance within ancient Israel. The narrative encapsulates the challenges that women faced and what they had to do to affirm their rights with dignity. So what happened here? Well, as part of the census that I spoke about, details regarding the various clans were captured. We read that Zelophehad had no sons, only daughters. As the census was finished, God instructed Moses, "Among these shall the land be apportioned as shares." Among these really refers to the males listed in the census. Hence, we can conclude that the daughters were not counted in the census and were not to receive any land as inheritance. We would expect that women who lived under a law that favored men might react by keeping silent, by accepting as natural the rule decreed for them to follow. Also, we would assume that women in those days would stay close to their tents, remain out of sight, and not go far from their families. So how and why did the daughters write a new chapter in Jewish history? Well, first, they dared to go out from their living space, from their social space, from their destiny that was imposed upon them. The narrative states that the daughters came forward and at the entrance of the tent of meeting stood before Moses, Eleazar, the high priest, the chieftains, and the whole assembly. So let's just imagine the scene here. We know that the Israelite camp was formed of tribes, each of whom had a predetermined place with the tabernacle in the middle. And in the center stood the main authority figures that I just mentioned, all of them powerful men holding the highest authority. So how's that for intimidating? Imposing, to say the least, for the daughters. But the 5 sisters decided to claim what they considered to be their rights. So together they left their tents without being called by anyone to a place where only the high-ranking men congregate, to a place where the tablets from Sinai rested in the ark, to the place of holiness and authority, to a place where women did not have any authority. These men must have been overwhelmed and stunned when they saw such a startling, unprecedented situation arise. But wait, there's more. This isn't all that the five sisters did. Not only do they come forth, but they also spoke with determination. They assertively stated, and here I'll quote, "Our father died in the wilderness. He was not one of the faction, Korah's faction, which banded together against God, but died for his own sin, and he has left no sons. Let not our father's name be lost to the clan just because he had no son. Give us a holding among our father's kinsmen." End of quote. So let's analyze now what the text suggests about these women. First, note that these women possessed an intimate knowledge of existing law and history. They leveraged the fact that their father was not involved in Korah's rebellion, an uprising against Moses and Aaron, which was described in Numbers 16, by the way, as evidence to support his and their claim to the land. They knew fully that the community of their family name depended on inheritance of the land. They realized that current law wasn't adequate since it didn't take into account the unusual circumstance of a man without sons. The daughters possessed the acumen to recognize this omission in God's law. Because they considered God's law to be just, or at least tried to be just, they showed no hesitation in pointing out the unfair nature of the present situation with confidence, and they supported their claim with compelling arguments. What courage! What courage! The daughters presented their case clearly and persuasively, appealing to Moses and the elders. They highlighted the injustice of the situation and argued that their father's name should not be lost. So how did Moses react? The narrative tells us that Moses disclosed his inability to assess the claims of the sisters. So he took the case to God, who responded unequivocally and fully, supporting the sisters' demands. And God even promulgated new and permanent law to secure inheritance for any daughters found in such circumstances. Thus, the sisters' claim led to the law of inheritance being changed forever. Essentially, then, a state law was eternally transformed. So state law had been forever amended by God, a huge leap for human rights. I would suggest that a key to the sisters' success was their full and intimate awareness of God's laws and the people's history and story. They insisted on change by engaging Israelite traditions effectively, something that the rabbinic sages recognized when they described the women. According to the Talmud, the daughters were wise, astute interpreters, and pious. They were wise because they spoke to the precise moment when the decision was to be issued. They were astute interpreters because they, in essence, said, if our father had a son, we wouldn't have spoken because he would have the inheritance. And lastly, they were pious because they didn't want to marry any man who wasn't worthy. And so this then leads us to some analytical observations that emerge here in this narrative. The daughters' courageous appeal to Moses resulted in a significant legal change, establishing that daughters could inherit land if a man died without sons. This was a landmark legal precedent. This precedent ensured that future Israelite women facing similar circumstances would also be able to inherit land. So, it was a watershed legal moment in establishing women's rights and a testament to their faith and understanding of God's laws. And importantly, it's a testament to God's commitment to fairness and justice for all humans, even for those who might be marginalized or overlooked by societal norms or circumstances. The story of these 5 women offers a compelling lesson for those who believe that their destiny is fixed or that divine justice has abandoned them. It encourages us to think differently and provides a message of hope for all those who face obstacles. Perhaps the most important legacy of the daughters is to call us to take hold of life with our own hands, to take personal responsibility and adopt a can-do attitude, to move from a place that others may have prescribed to us or that we may have decided to keep because we feel somewhat immobile or insecure, and to walk with godly authority. To take action, even to the most holy, influential center to where nobody seems able to go. But the story of the daughters is even more than just a legal narrative. It's a powerful testament to the importance of faith, courage, advocacy in the pursuit of justice and equality. It really demonstrates that even in seemingly rigid patriarchal systems, God's concern for justice can lead to meaningful change. The narrative reinforces central Judaic beliefs that nothing is more sacred than life itself, and the fight for what we believe in is worthy. So this Parsha inspires us to discover what we have the ability to know, what is right for ourselves, and what our rights ought to be. When we believe in our capacity to shape our history to the point of being able to change even a law that came from the revelation at Sinai, we pay tribute to the daughters. So in conclusion, just as ancient Israelites received clear guidance from the events detailed in this reading, we too can develop intentional practices that help us in our modern lives. As I had suggested, this Parsha really challenges us to live with courage, with integrity, with justice, with discipline, and humility. It calls on modern people, especially us as modern Jews, to confront wrongdoing with moral clarity, prepare the next generation to lead, reform unjust systems, commit to spiritual practices, and honor our words and responsibilities. And above all, behave with courage, always doing what is right, not necessarily what is quick and easy, and not necessarily what the path of least resistance is, which, by the way, is something that I'm always emphasizing in the classroom with my students. These, I believe, are timeless truths and still should shape healthy lives and communities today. In a nutshell, I'm deeply moved and guided, as I hope you are too, by the Hebrew phrase, which is cited in the Talmud, tikkun olam, as we all know, meaning repairing the world. It's a beautiful and deeply inspirational concept in Judaism that emphasizes the responsibility of individuals to improve the world through acts of social justice and kindness. And of course, this is directly and indirectly commanded to us as Jews via the majority of mitzvot. So, please join me in meditating on this closing prayer. Adonai, grant us the wisdom to recognize our need for spiritual renewal, the courage to confront our impurities, the courage to fight for what we know is right and good, and the grace to emerge transformed. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Peter. That's so much better than my. I come from a family of 4 girls, no boys, also. So this portion's very near and dear to my heart. But you would have just got, that they went to Moses, who went to God, and that's about it. And the other thing is that if one of these women married out of their tribe, then they had to relinquish the land back to another tribe member. So that's how God saw it, because the land was to be split up among the 12 tribes. Okay, so I've got some announcements. Tomorrow there is Torah Talks. Are you leading it, Stu? Oh, okay. Pardon? Okay. And there's also... There's also a Kiddush at the Shar HaShemayim honoring Katerina for her 25 years of service. There is a flyer out in the hallway, and I believe all are welcome. And then next Friday, July 25th, we'll have Shabbat services here at Bethel, and I believe Harvey's leading. I think it's his turn next week. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so we are up to Elena, which is on page 586. And if you could please rise. It's the bottom one there. Aleinu l'shabech ladon hakol, la'tekedu la'letzer v'reishit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, v'lo samanu kimishpot hadoma, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamanon, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא אורץ ומושב בשמיים ממעל ושבינתו זו בגורם מרמים Hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efer sulato kakatov b'torato v'yato chayim v'chashiv elevecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim mima'al V'al ha'aretz mitach Page 591. V'nemar v'chaya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'oretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad ushemo echad. You can remain standing because we're going right to Yisker on page 598. Recent deaths, we have Stephen Lutvak, husband of Irina, all the victims of the war in Israel, and all the victims of the floods. David, I noticed you had a couple of yard sites this week. Did you want to say anything about any of your people? Okay. Okay. Very nice, thank you. So there's Brian Bricker, Ann Cohn, who's the sister of Betty Paisner, Bert Gower, the father of Ann Winograd. Did you want to say anything about your father? Okay. Elizabeth Isaac, Daniel Creever, father of Judy Ablisser, and as mentioned, Sarita Miara, Bubby of David Reese, Louis Polsky, father of Ron and Larry Polsky, Max Porvin, Eric Sigmund Rice, which was your father? Oh, okay. They put him on this list. Okay. Chaim Rip, Joanne Spring, Millie Steinbrook, mother of Beth Jarkeg, Patricia Whitewood, sister-in-law of Ann Win. That was last week? Oh, I'm sorry. They put it on here. Okay. And Rose Winograd, mother of Ralph Winograd. And is she your mother-in-law also? Okay, that's what I thought. And Miriam Zlotnick, mother of Jack Zlotnick. Are there any other names to include on this list? Anybody else that passed in the last 30 days or this time of year? Okay, so we're on page 598. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, be'alma devra kurute v'amlich malchute, b'chayachom u'v'yomachom u'v'chayedachol beit Yisrael, bagala uzman korev v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah marach le'olam omel maya, yet barach v'yishtabach v'yitabar v'yitmamam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekusha barichu, le'ela min kol barachata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, dalmiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabbah min shemayim v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'marmav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated, and we're going to end with Osei shalom. Osei shalom b'marmav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. So we're going to have an oneg in the chapel, but primarily for those who are on Zoom, I'm going to do Kiddush and Motzi. If you want to follow along with the Kiddush, it's on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadsho b'ahava uvratzon hintilanu, zikaron l'maseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila l'makrei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'char V'sharta V'otanu Kidashta Mikol Hamim V'shabbat Kodshecha B'ava Uvratzon Hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. And we've got a chol over here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Okay, I'll see you in the chapel. Goodbye to everyone on Zoom land. Thank you for joining us. Good night. Shabbat shalom, everyone.